All right, today we're going to dive into the absolutely wild story of a single molecule, serotonin. And I'm telling you, this is an epic journey. It doesn't start in our brains, where you might think. Nope. We've got to go back 3 billion years, and it all begins with the sun.
I mean, really think about that for a second. How is it possible that one little chemical can have so much say over our lives? We're talking mood, sleep, even our very will to live. It's just wild. And to really get it, to understand how this is even possible, we have to rewind the clock way back.
So our story doesn't start in a lab, or even in the human brain. It starts 3 billion years ago, and it's all thanks to the single most powerful force in our solar system, the sun.
Okay, so first step in our story, life's first solar panel. Yep, you heard that right. We're heading back to the very, very beginning of life on Earth to meet serotonin's ancient ancestor.
And here it is. Meet tryptophan. It's this super ancient amino acid, and it has this one really special feature called an indole ring. Now, this little chemical structure, it was basically life's very first solar panel. It could actually absorb raw sunlight and turn it into biological energy. I mean, how cool is that? So how did this whole thing work? Well, it's actually a pretty simple 3-step deal. First, that indole ring just soaks up sunlight, specifically UVB and blue light. Then, all that energy gets the ring so excited that it literally spits out an electron. And that single moment, that one little electron transfer, is what kicked off the most important biochemical process on our planet, photosynthesis. This is literally light being turned into life. But with great power comes a pretty dangerous side effect. This process of turning sunlight into energy, it created a lot of toxic waste. We're talking about something called reactive oxygen species. You can just think of them as the exhaust fumes of photosynthesis, tiny, destructive little particles that could literally tear apart the very cells that were making them. Okay, so life needed a defense plan, right? It needed an antioxidant toolkit. And to fight off all this damage, tryptophan started to evolve into new, more powerful molecules. And among them was our star of the show, serotonin. And this is the really critical part to get. Serotonin's first job had nothing to do with mood. Its original purpose was to be a bodyguard for the cell, just a humble antioxidant. Okay, this brings us to a huge fork in the road, a major turning point in this whole story, the Great Evolutionary Divide. This is where plants and animals went their separate ways. And you can see just how different those paths were. Plants, well, they stuck around in the sun. They kept the ability to make their own tryptophan, so they basically became little serotonin factories, just churning it out. But animals, we took a completely different turn. We lost the ability to make tryptophan ourselves. We had to go out and find it, hunt for it. And this created a huge problem for us. Our entire kingdom became serotonin scarce. And if you want to understand just how scarce we're talking, get ready for this. A single banana peel can have 100 times more serotonin in it than your entire brain. Let that sink in. A banana peel. It's a mind-blowing way to see just how much we gave up when we went down the animal path. So what do you do when you're faced with this massive shortage of a crucial molecule? Well, you've got 2 choices: adapt or die. And that brings us to the next chapter, the scarcity solution. We're going to look at the incredibly clever ways animals figured out how to survive. So the game changed. Since we couldn't just make more serotonin, we had to become masters of conservation. We had to make a little go a very long way. So we evolved these super sensitive receptors that could pick up on the faintest whisper of serotonin. We developed these amazing reuptake proteins to basically recycle every last molecule. And we built these massive branching neural networks to spread the signal as far and wide as possible. And this idea of a receptor, it's just the perfect solution when you're dealing with a scarce resource. Think about it. It lets the cell get the message, it hears the signal from serotonin, but without actually using up the molecule itself. It's like reading a letter without burning it. Just the ultimate in biological efficiency. And man, this system took a long time to build. You go back 600 million years, you've got sponges. They have serotonin, but no brain cells, no neurons. Fast forward a bit, and worms pop up with the very first serotonin neurons. Way later, mammals come along and evolve these big, complex clusters of them. And then finally, in the human line, these neurons got an upgrade. They became smaller, way more precise, and incredibly fast. So, what does all this look like inside our heads right now? Well, the best way to picture it is as a drip irrigation system for the brain. See, instead of one neuron just talking to one other neuron, our serotonin neurons are different. They kind of just release this chemical broadly, diffusely. It's like a sprinkler system for your garden, watering huge areas of your neural landscape all at once and influencing everything it touches. All right, we've come a long way. So for this final section, we're going to bring this entire 3 billion year story full circle. Let's talk about sunlight and the brain and how we close that ancient loop. And this, right here, is the biggest takeaway of all. That ancient connection between our biology and the sun, that link forged 3 billion years ago, it's not just some dusty old fact in a biology textbook. No way. It is alive and well inside our skulls, right now, actively shaping how we think and feel every single day. And probably the clearest, most direct evidence for this is a condition a lot of people have heard of, seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. I mean, it's right there in the name. It's a type of depression that literally follows the seasons, and it's tied directly to how much sunlight we're getting. It's like a modern echo of our deep, ancient biology. And listen, this isn't just a hunch. We have hard data on this. One study looked at over 100 healthy guys and found a direct, measurable link. In the winter, when there's less sunlight, there's serotonin turnover, which is basically how quickly the brain uses and replaces serotonin, was low. In the summer, it was high. It's pretty clear. Our brains are, in a very real way, solar-powered. So how do we treat something like SAD? Well, it turns out we basically just mimic nature's own solutions. The two best treatments are, number one, antidepressants that help boost the amount of available serotonin, which makes sense for our scarcity-adapted system, and number two, light therapy. We literally give the brain the one thing it evolved to crave for billions of years, light. Especially that blue light that got this whole party started. So when you boil it all down, it really comes to this. Sunlight isn't just nice. It's a fundamental biological need. It's like this magic elixir that helps our body and mind stay in balance, helping us create that harmony we evolved to depend on. And that brings us to one last really big question to think about. If our well-being, our very sense of self, is so deeply tied to this ancient molecule born from sunlight, well, how should that change the way we design our modern world? You know, this world where we spend so much of our time indoors. It's definitely something to chew on. Thanks for joining me on this one.